Good morning. It's Sue and Val and soon to be Kirsten, almost ready for Sunday fun day to get underway. Time to hustle over to your mats. Make sure you got your towel, your water, your happy personality and mentality strong today. We're going to be working your body. Yes, to get started. Let's come to the center part of our mats, stepping our feet in so that they touch, and just taking a nice little look down, not to check out your pedicure, but just to make sure alignment wise. I'd like you to take your heels and step them out slightly. So more of the pronouncement of the big toes coming together. These bring straightness to the legs. I'm going to ask you to try to take your heels and rotate them internally towards the center line of the body. And that's going to engage some of these medial or inner thigh muscles. As we keep that engagement, we're going to kind of grow up by pulling in from the pubis area all the way through the belly button. And then as best you can, almost like you're lifting yourself off the ground by the rib cage, pull up, up, up. This will help to crowd out the chest. We're going to let the arms descend, separate the fingers widely, take your thumbs and spiral them backwards. Now, try to keep as much straightness in the legs and chopstick, pull those legs together as best you can. As you inhale, sweep the arms all the way up, rotating the palms to face. Pull and lengthen with the fingers, the whole body. Big inhale as you breathe out. Let's relax everything. Step your toes to face forward. As you separate your feet hip width apart. Hold your body down. Oh, this awakening the body stuff. Holy mackerel. Now, bend your knees slightly and then get them as straight as you can. And then continue to do that. The range of motion is not really big here. It's just a small bend and a push. Just getting some blood flow into those hamstrings and gluteals. A little bit to the quads. As you hold the hips down now, inhale, extend to a flat back. As you release your next breath, I'd like you to draw your hips backwards to feel the noticeable weight bearing in the heel of the foot. Back still in extension as you inhale. Back goes into flexion, let the whole body pull down, and then push your hips to the sky. Then bend the knees. Inhale, extend to a flat back. Exhale, fold back down, push the legs straight. Bend, inhale, extend the back. And let's do that one more time. Pull it down, hips push high, knees bend, extend as you inhale. Hold on that extension of the back, draw those hips backwards again. Weight bearing mostly to the heels as we step the palms onto your shins. Now, if your elbows have rotated internally, let's rotate them externally and initiate a push of the palms in the shin and try to see if you can grow that spine of yours ever so slightly more. Pull with the back of the head, pull the back of the head to the sky, bend the knees a little more. We're coming into a squat-like position. Let's take the hands and sweep them forward and upright the body. You're still going to have a substantial lean forward. That's normal. You have a lot of hip hinging, got the knees, ankles, both in flexion. We're going to try to lower a little more and then come all the way up. Sweep the arms to the sky. Inhale. Exhale, full forward fold, and walk your hands and feet into a plank pose. Let's let the chest drift in between the arms. Let's take your elbows and spiral them into the center line of the body. And if they lock out, I want you to just step off of that ever so slightly. Pull your hips up and back to down dog. Push high to the tippy toes. Drive the heels to the earth and continue to enjoy the lengthening of those muscles. The activation when we push and the lengthening when we drive the heels down. Pushing to the toes, driving the heels, hold the heels driving down. And imagine now you've got a string tied onto your tailbone. You're going to pull that string to the sky. And as we lift and elevate the hips, I want you to be mindful of the neck, making sure that it's still nice and relaxed. Now, as you release your next breath, sweep your body back to plank. Lower your knees to the ground. Separate them, your knees that is, to the width of the mat. We're going to flip your toes out so the tops of your feet are connected to the mat. Try to drip the toes in towards each other to touch if possible. And let the hips drift backwards for that nice lengthening. Your hammies and your gluteals. Walk the hands forward as the hips drift back. If you can lower down onto the heels, great. I know some of us have knee issues. You have limited range of motion. We're working on it. So just find what's right for your body today. Again, if the knees feel uncomfortable, cushioning with towels is always a good thing. I'll let you self-guide with that. Take a couple more breaths here. And then we come back up to all fours. We're going to step our hands underneath the shoulders and separate those fingers nice and widely as we tuck the toes under now. Let's keep the knees and the feet the width of the mat. And then you're going to take your chest and let it drop down into the arms. We're going to take your elbows and spiral them into the center line. And simultaneously, we're going to take your tailbone and back of head to the sky. Draw your chin right into your neck as best you can, as the back of the head, and my voice is changing as I do this. Back of the head to the sky. Now, relax that, let the chest drift down in between the arms, let the head fall, and kind of tuck under your tailbone. Hollowing out the belly, try to find as much flexion for the spine. This is mostly the thoracic spine. The middle part of our back, pulling high to the sky. Take a big breath in. As you exhale, reverse. And let's continue this motion we've set up. Tailbone and head, sky, and then reverse. Center of spine, sky. Using the same muscle activation, operating fluidly under tension. So we're not just flipping around, we're actually using muscle to create the motion in a very controlled fashion. Continue between the two poses, using breath to facilitate the movement. And then I'm going to hold the neutral spine. We take the right hand, step it forward, and then the left. And then we're going to take our knees up off the earth. So this is like an extended bear. Our arms extending forward. Now, lower the knees down and then raise them back up. Lower, raise, lower, raise and hold. Drift your shoulders forward to your wrists. So you should be in a plank pose. We have a wide base between the feet and the hands. Separate it out to the edges of the mat. Pull your hips up and back to down dog. High to the tippy toes. Heels drive to the earth. Now let's walk the hands back towards the feet. As soon as your feet find a connection with the floor, I mean the whole foot, the heel to the front, I'd like you to hold in that spot. So my hands haven't walked all the way back. They're still forward with the shoulders. I'm going to grow the spine. And I'm going to drift the hips back while I keep my hands in place as best I can. They might drag a little, it's fine. Then bend both knees. And now as you inhale, stand tall and sweep your arms to the sky. Oh. Bring hands over hearts. Let's keep this wide stance in our leg. Let's take your right hip and push it out to the side. And then do the same thing with the left. As you translate from side to side, try to avoid hula hooping. We're going left, right in the same line. We're going to hula hoop eventually. So we're going to add that on as a progression. Now, bring it back square. Draw your hips backwards so you have a little bit of a forward lane. And now we're going to hula hoop. We're going to circle right, forward, left, and back. Nice and slow. Imagine like your camera's operating in slow motion. Notice how I slow down that word. I know, very corny. Let's bring it back center and go the opposite way. Try to increase the range or the diameter of the circle as best you can. All right, got those hips all lubricated. Come back square. Take your hands, extend them forward. Shoulder height. Separate those fingers nice and widely. Let's take the shoulders, draw them back, and then try to imagine you've got strings on each shoulder pulling out from the center line. As you create that external rotation of the shoulder, I like you to try to keep those muscles active so you can kind of feel a little tension in them. The top of your head, pull it to the sky. Now imagine you're kind of lifting up from the belly, pulling up through the spine without raising through the shoulders. We kept that muscle engagement, right? Just checking in. Now, both knees are going to bend as we lower the hips down. So we should be in a relatively upright squat position. Your low back, I want you to check in with that. If it feels kind of funky, I'd like to engage that six-pack muscle of yours and keep that flexion, that lower back in check. We're going to keep the spine stable as we come down a little deeper. We're going to raise the arms and then lower and raise. Almost done with our warm-up. This feels like work. That's what warming up is. It's actually working muscle. Here we go, folks. Now, hold down shoulder height, squat down, stand up, squat down, stand up. See if you can increase the range of motion down. Up, we can only go so high. Down, we have range there. So let's explore that a little bit. Get down, up, get down, up, and get down and hold. Raise the arms, big breath in, reach for the sky, stand tall. Breath out and fold. Someone's shoulders get a little tired there. Let's walk it all the way up to plank pose. Oh my goodness. Now that we're all warmed up, we got to put the body to work, right? Hover low. Push back up, hover high. Pull up and back to down dog. Drive the heels. Push the tippy toes. Drive the heels. Keep the heels driving earthward as you float back to plank. Hover low. Hover high. Drive the heels. Pull the hips up and back to down dog. Keep the base of the hands nice and widely separated, those fingers. Make sure you're not feeling tension through the neck. Pull that imaginary string on the tailbone higher than the sky. Drive those heels to the earth. Feel that nice pull and release along the posterior leg. Come back to plank. Drive the heels, hover low. Drive the heels, hover high. And then lower the knees onto the earth. Flip so the tops of the feet are your resting portion of the foot. And drift the hips backwards. Again, modification of this is all based upon whether you need towel, range of motion, depending upon how it feels. Holding here for a couple breaths. Now walk the fingers forward a little more. And I want you to check in. Again, this is all about learning how to make sure we're compression free. Recognizing what it feels like. So if your neck feels a little bit compressed, I'd like you to kind of grow it and tell the musculature to relax. Flip your right palm to the sky. Right palm returns back to the earth. Left palm rotates to the sky. So we're using the baby finger like a hinge, or the side of the hand like a hinge. Keep rotating, alternating, side to side. And then open both palms simultaneously. Flip both palms to the earth. Step those hands back underneath your shoulders. Got that knocked out. Wow, that's a great exercise. Separate the feet once again as your toes tuck under. We have the edges of the mat met with hands, knees, and feet. Take a big breath in, hollow out the belly. I want you to just pull the belly button up and into the spine. And as you create that activation, we're going to add to it. Now, following out one activation, imagine I'm going to reach under your mat and try to punch you in the belly. Give me that second activation. That's your six-pack muscle. Keep it nice and active. Let the head fall. Pull the center of the spine, keeping all of it active, intensifying that activation. The belly button pulling into the spine and your punch protection muscles actively working. Oh, and then take a big breath, blow it out, elongate the spine, come back to neutral, rock forward and back slightly. Find a nice weight bearing, relatively equal. It's still going to be heavy to the knees, but just a little more pronounced in the hands. Float the knees up off the earth, lower them back down. Hold here for a second. Let your chest push through the arms. Pull the spine long. Hollow out the belly. Give me that little bit of six-pack muscle activation. Lift the knees and lower, and continue to do that. Set them all the way down, and then all the way, up an inch or two. All the way down, up an inch or two. Do that a couple more times. And then lower down, walk the hands forward. We're extending out here, nice extension. So now we're going to take the knees and come into our extended bear. We practiced this earlier. Lower the knees, raise them, lower, hold, flex the upper spine. Let the head kind of dangle a little bit. Keep the arms almost locked out. Rotate the shoulders internally towards the center line of the mat. Elevate the knees. Lower. Elevate. Lower. Hold down. Lift up. Lower down. Lift up. Pull your hips up and back to down dog. Drive those heels to the earth. When you're ready, step the feet forward. Separate them to the width of the mat. Turn your big toes into the center line, or your whole feet for that matter. As you inhale, extend. Keep the inhale as you drift back the hips. Bring your hands and wrap your ankles. Nice. Now, push your chest towards your heels. Push it down. Feel that nice elongation. Now, straighten the legs. And then with the assistance of the hands, try to pull both heels together. And then I want you to release the hands and keep the muscle that you activated pulling together, those medial, those inner thigh muscles active. Fingertips are back on the earth, hips draw back. A little bit of trembling going on with me, hopefully with you also. Inhale, extend. Exhale, bend both knees. Sweep the arms to your sky as you stand tall. Feet have remained in place. As you inhale, extend. Pull, pull, pull. With the fingers, pull higher. Big breath in. Exhale, hands come over heart. Now we have an inward rotation of the feet. We're going to keep that. We're going to bring as much straightness to the knees as we can. Now, let's take our hands, clench them into fists, have the thumbs sticking out to the side, and pull your elbows back. Now, as the elbows pull back, I'd like you to try to pull the elbows together. So as our chest extends, I'd like you to also grow your neck. Take your chin, level it off. Not to pull in, that's a different activation, is pulling up with the head. I like to try to pull up and slightly back on the diagonal, the top of the head, that is. Now, let's take the palms. Open up the fist to make palms and take the palms and extend them forward. Shoulder height. Now, bring together baby fingers, forearms, separate them, make the fists draw back, pull back, squeeze elbows together, extend forward, palms open up, everything connects, everything extends. Squeeze and pull and squeeze together. Let's do that one more time. Extend out, serve up the palms, bring the forearms, baby fingers together, hold on that. Extend out, try to get as much distance of the fingers away from the body as you can. Take a big breath in, and as you exhale, flip the palms to face. Bring hands back over heart. You're welcome. There we go. Now, keeping the straightness in the legs, let's take the heels and try to internally rotate them. So they're spiraling in, but they're not moving. It's just isometric, right? Perfectly now, we continue to pull from the pubis up and in, that strong muscular belly of ours, creating that muscular activation. I like you to also row the head higher to the sky. I'm also creating an external rotation of my shoulders. I can feel those muscles that pull the arms back, actively working, as I also work to pull the shoulders out and away from the center line of the body. A lot of activation. Connecting to it's a little bit hard, but if you try, eventually with practice over time, we get it. What? I'm fumbling my words and you're laughing at me?
Yeah.
Spousal support, so overwhelming here. It's just overwhelming.
Okay.
All right, fold halfway forward. Keep the spine long. Keep that internal rotation of the heels, that activation. It might feel funny on the knees. If it does, back off a little bit. This is a difficult stretch to execute, so I want you to be mindful of how it feels in the joints. Pull back, fold forward, enjoy. Come back up, hold up this time. Step the toes, face forward, extend the arms forward, shoulder height, interlock the fingers now, bring them together. Now, nice and tall, nice and engaged, nice and square. So the hips maintaining their face. We're not opening to the side as we begin rotation of the shoulder carriage. So this is really a spinal rotation, not a hip movement, not something that looks fancy by swinging the arms. We want the shoulder carriage rotating side to side. Get those small, those very intricate spinal muscles. So these are really exercising a good portion of our rotators. Those muscles that really help to kind of keep that spinal column supported. Some of the smaller muscles that tend to least get worked or most get abused when we sit for long periods of time. So this is just a simple exercise you can do anytime you choose. Okay, come back center. Bring hands back over heart. Draw the hips back so slightly, and we're beginning a little bit of a forward lean. Now keep the legs straight. This time we're going to try to push the heels externally away from the body. As we hold on that external rotation, hollow out the belly, hold in, almost go into flexion of the spine, if you will. Let the head fall, let the spine flex. Now, keep that internal pull of your belly. As you inhale, extend the spine and pull the back of the head to the sky. Extend the arms out. Keep those heels actively spiraling away from the center line. Lower the hips down as the knees bend. Try to keep that external rotation through those heels. Come back up to standing. Keep that external rotation. Back down. Yes, those outer thigh muscles should feel a little bit of amplification with that external rotation. Come down, come back up, hold up, sweep arms to the sky. Big breath in, inhale, exhale, fold all the way down, have a seat. This is not nap time, Kirsten.
Stretch.
Yes, so we're going to get into some core-related work and some stretching. Nice. Now, I'm positioning the heels to the corners of my mat, and I'm bringing flexion. So I'm bringing my feet in towards the shin. You can kind of see your shin muscle actively engaging, maybe inflaming, like puffing up a little bit. Let's keep that as I take my hands in between my legs and I walk them forward. So this is a nice elongation of our gluteals, and it also has implications with the hamstrings. You should feel a nice pull. And how we intensify, if it's possible, that release is by trying to push the back of the knees into the mat. You feel that elongation, more attention and the hamstrings. Now, as you inhale, extend to a flat back, walk the hands back, come into staff pose. So, back of the knees, pushing into the earth. Nice engagement of the quadriceps. Shin muscles nice and active. You got it all going on? Good. I like the way that we think and we connect. I appreciate that. Let's bring hands over heart. Now, expand the chest, expand the shoulders, pull out, hollow out the belly. Row the spine long, lean back ever so slightly. Now, compromising this movement would be to let the tailbone kind of fold under. I'd like you to create spinal integrity with spinal length. We've got stabilized spine. We're going to feel a little more tug in our hip flexors, and then we're going to lean back, come forward, and lean back. So this is a relatively big flexion for the hips. So we're not really ranging this out to extent of maximal range of motion. We're being very limited. So we're trying to increase the range every opportunity we can to get more energization of the muscles we're working right now without compromising our form, without rolling down on the tailbone. So try to get back as far as you can and come all the way up to 90 degrees. Let's try it one more time. Row the spine, lean it back, hold on, come back up, drop the hands, walk them forward, and enjoy that nice lengthening. Now we go into a lot of hip flexion here. As you inhale, we're going to extend the spine, walk the hands back, and then we're going to step the feet in so that they're flat to the earth. And I'm going to step my hands behind me. Now, the orientation, when our feet step in, we're going to feel more of the tailbone on the mat. And that's kind of normal. I'm going to try to ask you, or I'm going to ask you to try to push forward the hips. And this is a difficult thing to kind of maneuver. So tailbone you can feel, sit bones you can't. That pronouncement of getting the hips to rock forward is a practice that you're trying to achieve. You should feel reduction in pressure on the tailbone and more of an emphasis of weight bearing to those sit bones, the back part of them, of course. You're not getting right on top of them. Now, flex the spine, tailbone comes down, rotate internally the upper body, and as you inhale, crowd the chest, draw the shoulders out, try to roll up onto the sit bones, and now let's bring the hands onto the kneecaps. Let's use the assistance of the arms to help lengthen the spine and try to avoid this internal rotation of the shoulders. Try to get broad and wide. Pull the back of the head to the sky, and if you can, try to take your feet up and off the earth. Nice. Now, take your hand position underneath so you're on your hammies. Take your right leg extended, and then return it back to its original spot. The same with the left, and then alternate. So this is going to create a lot of different muscle activation, extension, flexion through the knees. We're maintaining a static position on the hips, but you're going to feel those hip flexors actively working. Right, sweetie? Mm-hmm. Now, take both feet down, both feet up, crowd out the chest, and then rotate the tailbone down and come down onto your mat. Pull the knees up and into the chest. And then extend the legs all the way out. This is the lengthening of those hip flexors. We were just working. Enjoy the stretch, point the toes. Let those arms drift backwards. Use the fingers to pull the upper body in one direction and use the toes to pull in the opposite. Fill your lungs. Enjoy the length. On the next breath, as you release it, bring the arms down beside the body. Rotate the palms to face the earth. Let's check in with our shoulders. I always like to do this. When I think of things I need to do for myself, I like to remind other people. Now, the internal rotation of the shoulder can be felt on the back by that ridge of the shoulder blade riding
into your mat or pushing into the mat. So I'd like you to try to take the opportunity to find a flattening of it so that you can feel more of your shoulder blade. You may already feel it, but I want you to try to find as much surface area of the shoulder blade on your mat. Get that skin sensation to guide you. With that, with the arms beside the body, we're going to crowd out the chest. We're going to hollow out the belly. We're going to imagine I'm about to drop a bowling ball on your tummy. And as we engage all of that infrastructure, all that muscle, I want you to check in with your neck. There's no tension there, right? And there is, release it, let it go. Keep those other muscles active though. Now, take your fingers and cup them so we have fingertips touching the earth right beside your hips. This may seem like part of an exercise we've done previously, and you're right, it is. It's not just seeming, it's the reality. Crowd the chest, keep that belly hollowing out. Imagine that bowling ball is about to fall. Get it active. Now, take your feet, step them in just an inch or two, just enough to put a little break in the knees. The heels are still separated hip width apart. We're going to internally rotate so that the thighs turn into touch. And the toes, if they touch too, great. And if they don't worry about it. Let's start to build the exercise. Let's take the feet, flex them into the shin. Let's take our thighs, squeeze them together. Get that activation. So important for this exercise and its effectiveness that you keep those thighs squeezing together. Those are those inner thigh muscles, the ones that get abused when you sit. They get lengthened out. We're just strengthening them right now. We're keeping them active. There's an isometric activation. We're going to keep that active stuff going on as we take the fingertips, push them into the earth, keep the chest proud, and then try to push from the heels and create an elevation of the back side of your body, the tailbone, up parts of your cheeks, up off the earth if you can achieve it. Just the activation itself has got a lot of emphasis. Squeeze those thighs even tighter, and then lower everything down, extend the legs, point the toes, drift the arms back, pull opposite direction. Enjoy that nice decompressed length. Roll your head from side to side. And then we're going to come back to this oh so popular exercise. Arms come back beside the body. Fingertips to the earth. We flattened out our blades. We talked about that extensively before. Now, push your fingertips, hollow out the belly, crowd out the chest. Keep that all active as we progress this. We're going to step the heels in, hip width apart, just an inch or two. We're going to rotate internally the thighs and the feet. We're going to flex the feet. We're going to begin to elevate, try to lift by pushing through the heels. Most important though, you're remembering that, right? Squeeze, lift, push, 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 push harder. Get a big activation. We keep that neck relaxed. And then lower down and extend all the way up. We've done this a couple of times today. We're going to move on. As you separate the feet, bring the hands up over the chest and Pilates styles. Up we come. When we hit the top, dive it down. Feel that nice release through the posterior muscles, back of the legs, and the lower back. Take a couple breaths. And then come back up to a seated position. Step the feet, grab your knees, and then tuck your tailbone and vertebrae by vertebrae, lower yourself down on to your mat. Nice. Keep that left foot, plant that left foot. Take the right foot, step it up onto the left thigh. flex the right foot. Without the assistance of the rest of your body, let's do two things. Let's anchor the hip, so I'd like you to roll onto your left side slightly, so you can feel the left side of that low spine of yours. More pressure. And now we're going to take the right knee and try to sweep it away from the body. So if you rock back onto the right side, try to keep on the left as you rotate the right. And try to give me as much rotation as you can. Bring the knee back towards the body and then rotate back away. And then do that a couple of times more, nice and slowly. And then take that right foot down to the earth. Left foot changes its position, roll slightly to the right, extend or open that left knee. Oh my goodness, this is much more problematic on this side for me.
Oh, thanks for
Come
sharing.
back in. I know, sharing's wonderful, isn't it? And then open back out. And in and out. And enjoy an exercise that involves stretching. Internal rotation, external rotation. And then we turn that left foot back to the earth. Take your right leg, wrap it over the left leg. Try to keep the knees as close together as possible. We're going to use a little bit of resistance, so external rotation of the left. I'd like you to try to open the left leg towards the left side of the body. Just to the point where we kind of felt earlier, where we rolled onto that left cheek of sorts. And now we're going to use the right leg against the resistance of the left to pull the right leg, of course, to pull the left leg towards the right side of the body. We roll over that spine of ours onto the right cheek. Keep the antagonistic nature of this movement, left rotating the opposite direction that the right is pulling it. So we've empowered the right leg just to be a little bit stronger than the left. To create that rotation, take your left arm, reach it into the sky, and then sweep it all the way back so that the arm comes back to the ear. Try to grow that arm nice and long, and then dial the arm, sweep it out and away, open the palm to the sky. Bring that hand all the way down towards that left hip. As the left hand touches, sweep it all the way back slowly. Enjoy and savor. Grow the arm. Imagine this pulling or being pulled away from the body, this whole movement. All the way back with arm to ear, and then roll back onto your backside, switch legs. Again, antagonism. Right rotating away. Pull with that right leg, get onto the right cheek, get that activation. Keep it now as you overpower the right leg with the left, pulling the right leg to the left side of the body onto that left cheek. We want to float the knees. I didn't say that before, but we want to keep the tension in the muscles. So it's not a relaxed thing, it's an active thing. As the right hand reaches to the sky, sweep it all the way back, row nice and long, and then dial the arm, palm facing to the sky. Touching hip, sweeping back. Do it one more time. You can tell by my voice, we're not moving through this quickly. Imagine the arms being pulled by someone else away from the body. Keep that elbow almost locked out. When you get back, roll back onto your backside, unlock the knees, and extend the legs up and into the air. Now, pelvic rotation can be measured many different ways. So this is how I like to do it. It's like the low back skin, and it feels pressure. So I'd like you to drip, let's make the legs long, and then drip the legs forward. And if you're like me, I feel my low back, the skin is pulling off the mat. So I can use that as a registration of contact as a registration. So let's pull the legs back in so you feel the skin of that low back connected to the mat. So now we've got that, we're aware of that now, right? So we're gonna keep that contact there as we take the right leg, flex the right foot, which is basically let's drive that right heel to the sky, feel a little bit of tension through that back leg, primarily around the knee. And while we maintain that thrust of the heel, we're going to lower the leg and keep the skin connected to our mat. I can touch, you don't have to touch, but if you can, try to get that range in. And if you compromise the movement, if that skin of the low back lifts off, you've extended a little too far for your body today. So we want to focus the muscles. We're going to try and do the left side now. And this is really to kind of create an awareness of how to stabilize the spine. We're using some very important abdominal muscles to keep the spinal extension of the lumbar spine, the lower back, actively working. And we're also, really important here, lengthening and strengthening our hip flexors. They have to move that leg. It's a lot of weight to control on the way down and back up. Right, so let's bring the legs back to the sky, bend the knees so the leg shins are like a tabletop. The feet, let's give them a 90-degree angle, a little bit of flexion. Now, pull the knees in towards the chest, get the low back connected. That's the skin connection. Feel it, and then tabletop those shins and let the feet push out. Now keep them in a spot where you can maintain your skin's touch, that low back skin. Keep the bend in the knee, and we're going to do some hip rotation by just lowering the heel to touch and then coming back up. So the shin's tabletop and alternate side. This is a very intense exercise. Executed, make sure, of course, that your belly button isn't pushing out. You want to be hollowing out. You want to be using that transverse abdominis, hollowing out the belly and keeping that six pack nice and active. So we have that nice skin touch of the low back on the thing. A couple more times. Oh my goodness, this is just burning me up. Hopefully it's doing the same for you. All right, come back up, tabletop, pull the knees up and into the chest. Bring the forehead up to meet the knees and rock and roll front to back, all the way up into a seated position. Nice. Now, staff pose. We're having a staff meeting. There's that old joke again. See, it just kind of recycles. Now, let's take the hands, reach them forward. I'm going to overlap my toes. I'm going to bend my toes in towards the top of the foot. So I get that nice release in the foot, the base of the foot, the underside. And I'm going to take my heels and push them forward, and I'm going to add a little bit more extension of those toes by using my hands to kind of leverage down. I'm going to switch slightly because the big toe has a bigger pronouncement than the smaller toes. So I'm going to take 4 fingers on 4 toes, and I'm going to use the hands to pull those toes nice and extended. Get a different stretch. I'm going to shift down to the 2 smallest toes, grabbing those and pulling them down. Get that nice feeling. Might feel miserable too. Depends on how much abuse your feet get. And then I'm going to relax everything, bring my hands onto the shins, and I'm going to slide down, fold forward, and I'm going to use my hands wrapping my ankles to help pull down the upper body. I'm not going to overexert. I'm just going to add to the sensation of what feels like a really good stretch. And I'm going to release from that. Inhale, extend to a flat back as I come up to a seated position. I'm going to step the legs in, keeping my feet flexed, wrapping the hands around, and then I'm going to slowly lower down. Once my heels come up off the earth, I'm going to try to slow down the rate of descent. And then I'm going to pull the knees up and into the chest. And I'm going to circle the knees away and down, back to center, pull back up. And continue to do that for another couple of revolutions. Who knew today would be a revolutionary? All right, bring the knees back together. Let's reverse by lowering the knees down and then opening and coming up. You can also change the grip, bringing hands to hamstrings. It adds a little more range for this movement. Unless you've got really long arms. All right, and then coming back up, squeeze those legs together, rock and roll front to back, come back up to a seated position. Take your right leg, extend it out, bring the left leg in. We're going to take our hands. I'm going to just basically create spinal extension. So we want to try to avoid flexion and rotation. We want extension and rotation. So we have support of that spinal column. And then come back center. Switch up sides, extension and rotation. And bring it back center. As we come back center, let's bring hands over hearts so I can thank you for your amazing participation today.
Namaste.
Namaste, she's stealing my lines. Whew.